Dr. Barron from Western New England University.
Okay, thank you. Just bear with me for a moment while I get started. Oops, wrong presentation. Okay, so again, I'm Robert Barron. I'm an assistant professor of industrial engineering at Western New England University, and I am part of the FEWtures INFEWS project. And we are looking at a situation, a water energy food nexus opportunity in the Central Arkansas River Basin, or I'll call that CARB. And in the CARB region, we find both some of the most valuable agricultural land in the United States, one of the largest aquifers in the United States, which is key to the agricultural productivity of that region, and also some of the richest renewable energy resources. Now, this area is facing a serious problem because the Ogallala Aquifer, which has been supporting the economic agricultural economy for about 70 years now, is starting to run dry, and there's a very real prospect that we'll see significant loss of farms in the area. And so what our project is doing is we are looking at ways that we might be able to leverage the renewable energy resources and some new technologies with respect to producing ammonia and treating water to both extend the agricultural productivity of this area and also provide some economic diversification to some of these small town and rural communities that are essentially completely agriculturally oriented at the moment. And so the main lesson that we have learned is that if we want to get good engagement, we need to provide a return on the stakeholders' time investment. We went into this project knowing that we valued the stakeholders' input very much, but it's not enough for us to value the stakeholders' time. They need to see their time investment as valuable as well. And this is something that when I say it, I say, well, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I realize that from the very beginning? But it is something that we've learned. And so we are adjusting our interactions with stakeholders to try and do a better job of highlighting the value that we are providing them and also giving them more opportunities. Things like, using their time wisely, making sure that when they come to these presentations, we do engage them and we do respect their time. We also want to make sure that we try and do all that we can to provide something in return, if that's maybe just networking opportunities or insights into new technologies. One of our stakeholders at the most recent stakeholder meeting, which was actually just last week, said, I'm looking for commercial opportunities. I'm looking for places where I can invest money in new technologies that are going to make me money. And of course, we'd love to be able to provide that. Some of the things that stakeholders are looking for are not always easy for us to provide. We do have a very broad base of stakeholders. We've got entrepreneurs, we've got state legislators, farmers, local officials. It's a very complex and diverse group. And although it's not always easy for us to provide return on their time investment, we certainly want to do that to the best of our ability because it improves the interaction for everybody concerned. And I'm reminded of a saying that is talked about often in sales, that the world's most popular radio station is WII-FM, or What's in It for Me radio. And we're just learning that it's very important to keep this in mind because the stakeholders who feel like they're getting value for their time are going to be much more engaged and they're going to deliver more value for us. So I hope I haven't run over time, but are there any questions?
I have a question. I wonder, to what extent are the stakeholders involved in providing you with ideas for directions to go in? Is there, do their ideas their the things they want, does that inform your the projects you work on at all?
Absolutely. The stakeholders that we're engaging with now as part of our advisory group are the very same stakeholders that we would like our project to serve. So we do take their suggestions very seriously. And yes, that does help us direct, our research and our goals. I don't have a list of specific examples at this point, but by all means, we do value their input and do change our focus based on the feedback that we get.
Because I think one of the tensions is that we do these, we get these grants, these funding proposals from the USDA or from the NSF, and we have things that we promise them, but the stakeholders aren't always part of the calls that come from the USDA or the NSF. And so, getting everybody's goals to line up is sometimes tricky, but
Yes, it's not always easy, especially with some of our stakeholders who are, for instance, maybe farmers that aren't really focused on the science and the future of the food, energy, water nexus as much as they're focused on what can I do this year to help my farm and to stay solvent. So yeah, there's definitely a tension there, and it's an ongoing challenge.
Thank you. I can see, Dr. Rubenstein, go ahead. Oh, let's unmute
You're on mute
first.
How do you get them to see the value?
Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of a case, it's stakeholder dependent on a case by case basis. But really it comes down to, in some cases, just asking for feedback. What can we do to be more useful as a resource for you? And then based on that feedback, we then know what to look for and have, if we see something come along, like for instance, if this stakeholder who was looking for a commercial opportunity, if I see something that might be valuable to him that's related to our project, I can just reach out to him and say, hey, I saw this, is this interesting to you? Do you think there's an angle that we could use with this opportunity to incorporate into our project?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that gets the bidirectional information flow that was being asked in the previous question, but still there's a gap. And so I'm curious, I know that when I work in Kenya on livestock issues, I hire the children of the pastoralists so that the kids actually see that business as usual is not as good as the alternative. And then they can send that information back because they have a stake in it. And so that tends to poignantly give them, through their experiential learning, a sense of value.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I'm not sure that we have any internships to offer the children of our stakeholders, but certainly something along those lines might be useful to us.
Yeah, because the kids will tell you, I see X, Y, and Z happening on my farm or my ranch, and then they're actually doing the heavy lifting on the alternative that you're proposing to study, and the feedback is direct. It doesn't require you to show a graph or anything because the parents tend to believe the kids. Anyway, just a thought.
Bob, do you mind if I pitch in here a minute?
No, not at all. Mary is the project lead on this project. So Mary, I'll turn it to you.
Yeah. So, and that's a really good idea. And we did do that to some extent in the, not so much in the currently as after the project got funded, but leading the years and rejections leading up to actually getting a project funded. We did actually hire the kid of one of the farmers, and that worked great. Now we're operating more using surveys and using stakeholder meetings, just because we don't have that exact opportunity. We will be working with high school students. We have a connection with an educational program for high school students that we're working with. So the kids are key. They're the future, of course.
I agree. I mean, bringing them into the project, they are unabashed. They'll share ideas. They're receptive, and they want to make change. So they're often the best ambassadors.
And they're unreserved about how they're like, you don't make any sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, the whole idea of using ammonia, both for locally produced ammonia, which is a huge expense for them. Just in Kansas, the farmers spend $1 billion a year on fertilizer. So you have their attention pretty fast just because we're dealing with something that's fertilizer, but ammonia also can be used as an energy storage mechanism, like a battery or a fuel. And so bringing that to their attention interests them and also has international implications.
This is Chelsea. I wanted to follow up before we move on to ask about the balance of integrating stakeholders before a project is funded. I guess I'm wondering if you can give us some sense of, what was that balance relatively? Were there stakeholders involved in project formulation before project funding? Maybe like what proportion or percentage of the current stakeholders were involved at that point, if any? Kind of what is that balance on this project? And do you think that it was set up in a way that contributes to, the dynamics of the project in any way?
Mary, you may have a better perspective on that than I do. Do you want to take a step?
Yeah, I think about a third of our current science advisory, I call it the advisory group, but because it's stakeholders and scientists, I had it split up at one point. I put them together. It's just better to think of them together. About a third, and that included a state legislator, a farmer, an NGO head, a business leader. So we included those voices in the proposal, and I think it really strengthened the proposal to a good degree. And then of course those people were already on board and interested. We still have holes in our advisory group that I'd like to bring some more people on, but it's and it is food, energy, water. There's the whole connection to the renewable energy. So there's the energy sector, and you all deal with this, the water sector and the agriculture. So yeah, so getting back to just being very concise, a third.
Okay, great. And that's helpful for me as we're thinking about, what does it mean to build a successful project from the ground up? It involves including at least some of your collaborators at the pre-proposal stage, rather than saying, okay, now we have this money, who do we work with to answer these questions? So I was just curious what the balance was for you and if you felt like it contributed. And one of the things I appreciate about what you said is that, yes, they were involved at the beginning, but that doesn't mean that there aren't still gaps now, right? Kind of linking the two ideas that, yes, we can involve them early and often, but also be willing to adapt and include new people as interest arises. So thank you.